I think they've definitely got to do something else after that celestial event has happened, and I do think that they're going to induce this opening of the gate.
What can you say about the Islamic version, I guess, or take on this as well? They have a different name. They call these beings the jinn. In English, we can almost translate that into genies, beings that grants us wishes and things like this, right?
Yeah, the jinn have the demons from the Necronomicon have a lot of parallels with the jinn. They whisper bad things into your head. They're subject to incantations and symbols. The jinn from the Islamic perspective are basically just free-flowing spirits that are wandering around. They whisper trouble into your mind. You know, they break up relationships. They cause suspicion. They miscarriages, illnesses, and they pretty much just roam around causing trouble. And so the Muslims say that we were appointed a guardian angel, what they call a malaika, in order to counteract that, because to each person is assigned a jinn. And so it's kind of unfair where you have a human who's already dark in his heart, and then you have the whispering of an even darker character. So I guess the guardian angels were assigned to us so that we would actually have a chance to do the right thing, I guess.
That's interesting. And so who is kind of presiding over all of this as well? Are we talking about God here, or are we talking about the universe, or is there a being who have a more that is at the top of the hierarchy ladder here as well, so to speak, and is controlling all of this, or is this just how should I put it? This is just an outcome of what happened when the universe was created, and this is just the laws that were set into place for this round, or how do you view this? How do you approach this subject in terms of God and all that?
Well, that's certainly a matter of perspective in regards to religion. If you want to hear what they say, I can tell you that. They're not all bad. Not all the jinn are bad. The jinn that are bad are called shayateen, which has its roots in Satan. But they're not all bad. And as for the jinn that are bad, they're called shayateen, and they are absolutely commanded by Satan, that they take their orders directly from Satan. Regardless of whether they're bad or good, all of the jinn are the offspring of demons. And God has got enough power to assign us a guardian angel, but that really is just a matter of perspective. If you want the Muslims, they just say that there is a jinn for every person, and so there's a guardian angel for every person. Most of the jinn are, and this is backed up by many sources outside, but most of them are in deserted places. They're underwater, they're under the ground, they're in the air. Earth is a three-dimensional living quarters for spirits. We see it as a two-dimensional living quarters because we can only live on the surface for the most part, but they can live anywhere. And so they outnumber us 100 to 1, easy.
So we potentially are talking about underground civilizations as well, then beings who are presiding inside the earth and things like this. Is that right?
Absolutely. The Necronomicon talks about it. Everybody's book talks about that. That's beyond discussion or question to me. There are absolutely a civilization or something going on beneath the surface of the earth. Whether I think they're material beings under there as well, but I was just referring to the spirits in general, that they're even in the air. A lot of them even can float out into space and then come back. They see the earth as a three-dimensional place to live, and so there's just tons of them. And they're usually in places where we're not.
There is an interesting connection here in terms of other secret societies as well. At the end of your film, you mentioned a group, I think, that is called the Mhu Thul, basically, and they potentially then, according to I think it's a Necronomicon that you mentioned there, that they're behind the buildings of the pyramids and things like this. And this, of course, reminds me of the name Thul or the Thul Society. They were for the hunt for the Aryans. I don't think that this means white-skinned human beings in that sense. I think that they're talking about what is referred to as the shining ones, basically the glowing white people, if you will. What's your take on that, Michael?
Well, as for the Necronomicon, it said that it was a race of man. It could have been what you're talking about, the human-looking, but they're actually the old version of humans rather than the corrupted new version, I guess you would say. Or they are actually the corrupted old. Either way, the Necronomicon says that it was a race of man who built it, and I found that very interesting too, that he even came to mention the pyramids and its construction methods. They said that some kind of ore is mined out of the earth, and this ore is heated up in lead containers, and it releases some kind of energy that perhaps makes large bricks even weightless. And
so that potentially would explain the building technique then, I guess, of some of the pyramids.
Yeah, well, partly in other texts, like in Islam and the apocryphal book of the Testament of Solomon, you actually have the jinn who are making the temple and moving large blocks. So you actually have demons who are floating them around. So there's two stories out there floating around. In the Temple of Solomon, and the builders of the Temple of Solomon were all demons. Or not all demons, but they were for the most part demons, and all the heavy work was done by the demons. And so, they were forced to move large bricks. So, there's two things that I've heard in regards to moving bricks into place.
Interesting, and that's one of them. And anything else in your research that has led you down into the road of the potential role, rather than of the Thule Society? Again, we have this kind of occult branch pre-National Socialism in Germany, the Nazis, that were on the hunt for various relics that they seem to have traveled around the world. They were in Tibet. They were looking for, Shambhala, things like this, other cities. There are even alleged expeditions to the poles again to try to go into the earth and things like this. And I feel that by name then at least connects very much to what you've been doing with the Thule people or the Thule Society in this case.
If the Thule from the Necronomicon is indeed the Thule from Hitler's group, I think that the Thule Society was started up, right before Hitler really became anything. However, I am sure that Hitler was absolutely illuminated. He was aware of all these 9 gates and all the stuff, and that's why he went searching. He didn't just waste soldiers. I mean, the guy was mean, but he wasn't an idiot.
So, do you think that the whole, the world wars in that sense have been orchestrated, and there's plenty of research pointing to this out there in the alternative fields, that the world wars are in fact orchestrated in order to, well, I guess, align not only the nations and the governments around the world towards a common goal in that sense, but also about the eradication of certain people, and in that, of course, not only the Jews, if you look at the Holocaust, or other people, but also in terms of many Germans and Norse people as well, British people as well. There were so many people lost under the world wars, obviously. So there seems to be already at that place a culling of the human populace, if you know what I'm referring to here, Michael.
Yeah. World War II. For the most part, from what I've gathered, it was mainly about the setting up the United Nations and giving a good excuse for world government. But it could have easily been a sacrifice of some sorts. I mean, they were all just from head to toe with all these occultic symbols, and that surely wasn't by accident. Surely the people who put the symbols on there were aware of their uses and what those symbols are. And you will find a lot of those symbols in black magic. So it could have been kind of like a mass sacrifice, but they really didn't kill enough humans relative to the portion for anything prophetic or anything real big. I don't know if it was moving into some kind of stage other than formation of a tighter world government than the League of Nations had to offer. Yes,
absolutely. And again, I think that the idea that you brought up about symbols there is very interesting and a good and an important point as well, that we have all these armies, young men in most cases, going out with various patches on their arms, swastika, sun symbols, eagles, 5-pointed stars, and all of this. And there's even research pointing to the fact that certain battles take place at certain, not only astrological, times, but also